my top 10 rackets right now. I know that I had my tournament of rackets that I finished recently, but for this channel I need another goals. And yeah, tournament of rackets was kinda a nightmare when it comes to the logistics, but I really like the idea behind the tournament because I was forced to pick one racket above the other, and this brings more value to my choice. And I think each reviewer should kind of have this safety rope to keep the choices transparent and up to date. And I think that the reviews would be just a bit more honest that way. So let's go to my top 10 frames. The top 5 I will just keep in my bag, and let's call them, I don't know, the truth sayers. You will come up with a cool name, I'm sure. So for the 10th spot, I was thinking between Percept 97D and Head Prestige Tour, and decided to go with the Prestige Tour basically because it is a 16-19 string pattern. The forgiveness between those two are quite similar. The power to control ratio is set kind of similar, so yeah, basically the string pattern made the biggest difference. Maybe with the Prestige Tour it is a bit easier to create some shapes. Percept 97D is a kind of one-trick pony for flat hitters, so yeah, Prestige Tour, number 10. Number 9, I will give it to the Babolat Pure Aero 98. Great combination of spin, control, power and stability. And for the Babolat frame, I would say it has a nice feel. So even a player like me that tends to prefer more classic frames, I think this one from the Babolat is my favorite. Yeah, something was a little bit off. I would have to customize it to my specs. I didn't have that much time with the frame. One thing I noticed is that sometimes I was shooting a bit too high. This little inconsistent response was just taking away from the experience. Maybe this frame is more for those who can spin a bit better. Number 8. I had two of those rackets but didn't switch to them. It is Yonex Vcore 98 Tour. Great spin, great power, stability, much better than the stock Vcore 98. You can play it in stock form, it's all good. I actually like it a bit more with a leather grip. The only knock I would say, it is kind of similar knock that I had with the Babolat Pure Aero 98. It is a bit too high launch or maybe a bit inconsistent response. I would love the Vcore 98 Tour with a 16-20 string pattern just to tame it a little bit and make it more controllable for me as a classic player, let's call it that way. I tend to guide the ball a bit more. I don't have really this fast snappy wrists, so sometimes I was just shooting a bit too far. But Vcore 98 Tour, very impressive racket. I think the feel was a bit better compared to the Pure Aero 98. Basically, Vcore 98 Tour kind of feels like a hotter blade. I tried to tame this power potential or launch angle with thicker strings, but it didn't help the racket. It was a bit too boardy at this point. So yeah, 125 was a must, and I just couldn't find the control. Playing under pressure was a bit tougher. Number 7, it's getting hotter. I went here with the Head Prestige Pro. Yeah, I love this frame a lot. I think the control and the overall feel of the swing is basically perfect for my swing style. Yeah, this setup and unloading is just great. For the specific drills, this racket would be maybe top 3, but when it comes to competing with this racket, and basically I made this list based on how good I was competing for the specific solutions like pure control, pure feel, Prestige Pro would be definitely a top 3 frame. For winning, a bit too demanding. Let's go now to number 6. So it was a quite difficult choice between Prestige Pro and the 6th racket in my ranking. I'm going with the Head Speed Pro. Basically a more forgiving frame, right? More power, more juice, more forgiveness, more stability. The only negative thing compared to the Prestige Pro is that the Speed Pro is maybe a bit too hot sometimes, and the power to spin ratio is a bit off. Like I'm getting more power but not really that much more spin. So sometimes under pressure, when I try to kind of kick up the ball and play with some spin, with some margin, slow down the rally, Speed Pro was just no, let's just keep playing aggressive, and the ball was just landing too far. So with the Prestige Pro, maybe it's a bit easier to create those shapes and to control the pace of the rally. With the specific strings and tension, I think I could get closer to what I expect during those tougher moments where I don't really want to be aggressive. I want to just keep the ball safe and deep. And yeah, now we are here, top 5 frames, the truth sayers, golden line. Number 5 is Head Gravity Tour. Yeah, recent release, 16-19 string patterns, so shaping the ball is a bit easier. I added leather grip to my Gravity Tour to make the frame a bit more whippy, a bit more classic in feel. It has kind of similar power to the Speed Pro, but the spin potential is much bigger. Sometimes the launch angle maybe is a bit too high, so this is this problematic thing about the Gravity Tour. Can I control it under pressure? Will the response be consistent and predictable enough for my game? But overall, I think the 98 head size, a slightly thinner beam, 16-19 string pattern just gives this ratio of power, control, spin, forgiveness a bit better than the Speed Pro, but it is a very tough choice. Number 4. I'm going with the Head Prestige MP 18-19 string pattern, so same as Djokovic, Medvedev, Agassi, Korda. Great for those classic players that want a bit more forgiveness and spin potential compared to, let's say, the Speed Pro, right? I get a bit more consistent response because it is a Prestige overall, and yeah, a bit better spin potential. So it is a bit easier to create some shapes, to be a bit more sneaky with this racket. If you can be a bit more sneaky, for me as a grinder, it is a bit easier to win. I can kind of choose a bit different play style, adjust to the opponent, and yeah, the only knock maybe I would have with the Prestige MP is finding these weapons, this court penetration that I have with the Speed Pro or the Gravity Tour, but the overall connection, control, and this ratio of power, control, spin is maybe a bit better, where the other frames below are giving me a bit maybe too much, or I just need to learn how to control them, right? So yeah, this is this balance of rackets. Prestige MP is a bit lower in power, but I'm getting more control. With control, I get more confidence. With more confidence, sometimes I get more spin and more actually court penetration. So yeah, it all depends, but when it comes to ball placement and as a grinder, Prestige MP sounds like a good idea. And by the way, I also added a leather grip to the Prestige MP. So basically, I wanted to make it closer to the Prestige Pro when it comes to the feel, but keep the more forgiving head size and string pattern. Number 3. Diadem Elevate Tour, kinda what I wanted Prestige Pro to be. A bit more open string pattern, but basically still a lot of control, a lot of classic feel, maybe a bit less stable than the Prestige Pro, but the user friendliness is much bigger, much easier to serve, and yeah, maybe it gives me those hints that I want from the Yonex Vcore 98 Tour. It is giving me this Fonseca vibes with 1620 string pattern in a more responsive frame overall, because the string spacing is still set quite wide, I would say. Prestige MP is more consistent in response, but sometimes I just lack some weapons, and Diadem Elevate Tour definitely can make the ball a bit hotter. Number 2, we have Solinco Whiteout 1619. I added some mass to the handle to make it a bit closer to the Prestige Diadem Elevate Tour and Gravity Tour with a leather grip. So yeah, it is a bit more heavier and headlight. 1619 string pattern, but I use 130 strings to tame this responsiveness. Whiteout takes those thicker strings much better than the Vcore 98 Tour, and this was a deciding factor for me because I get a bit more consistent response, but still the spin potential is much better compared to the 1820, 1620, whatever, right? But still it is a matter of control. Can I control this explosiveness and higher launch angle? And yeah, Whiteout with those mods and thicker strings just work like a charm for my game. And yeah, number 1 is a Tfight 305. Basically, I am in love with 18-19 string patterns when it comes to the philosophy behind it. Djokovic, Medvedev, right? They are these grinders I'm trying to kind of copy when it comes to the play style and point construction. Compared to the Speed Pro, it is giving me a bit more consistent response and a bit maybe less power, so more control, yet it gives me this power on demand, similar to the Diadem Elevate Tour. But when I try to slow down the rally, keep the ball kind of dead, yet still in a safe zone, it is a bit easier to create those shapes compared to the Speed Pro. Yeah, of course, Speed Pro is much more forgiving frame, so this is a tricky part, right? When I try to compare the Tfight 305 against the other truthsayers, I would say that this one with the Prestige MP is the most control-oriented frame. However, Tfight has more power on demand. So this power potential makes the racket closer to the Elevate Tour, but Elevate Tour has a 1620 string pattern, but I think the main thing that made the difference against the Diadem Elevate Tour was the stability. Tfight is maybe the most stable racket in my top 5. I usually play with a heavier but more headlight setups. I tried to modify this racket, but it didn't listen the way I wanted to. So that was the tricky part. When it comes to the wave distribution and overall feel of the swing from the truthsayers, I would say Elevate Tour feels the best. When it comes to the overall forgiveness, I would pick Prestige MP. When it comes to the spin potential, Whiteout for sure. And this combination maybe between the Whiteout and the Elevate Tour would give me a Gravity Tour. So yeah, that's my top 5 frames. There is one more rule that I want to tell you. If the brand decides to launch a new frame, I will have to replace it with the newest release. For example, I have this Whiteout, right? And as I will be reviewing the frame, I have to put it against the Whiteout and all the truthsayers. We expect the brand to give us a better frame, or at least as good as the previous release, right? This is the risk they are taking. So yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Subscribe if you can, it helps me a lot, and see you soon. Bye bye.